Yeah, so some of the red flags that I see personally is when people are hiring. So I often would come in an HR situation when the hire had not gone properly and they were asking me to help basically fire the person. How do we talk to them or put them on a plan for improvement, a performance improvement plan? And so to avoid that, you want to hire, correctly the first time. One, we talked about the halo effect. We talked about prepping for the interview. And the other thing is, this is very typical of startups. I would say 80% of the startups I work do this. They hire somebody very, very close to them. It's a lot of times their spouse. And if they're older, it might be their child. If it's a child, it may be their mother doing their books. And it may be their sister-in-law doing marketing because she's a stay-at-home mom, but I can teach her. What happens when you start with all this hiring family is that's hard to put on a performance plan, right? They're going to be hard to work with later on. Now, you may have great relations with all of your family. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best employee because just hiring somebody that that your neighbor, the sweet lady, I can teach her bookkeeping, right? That's what they would say. Well, I trust her, so I'll teach her bookkeeping. That turns into a disaster in the back end office because everything's in chaos. Just because they're nice and they're trustworthy does not mean they meet that skill set to be a bookkeeper or to do what it is that you want to do. We see a lot of that with the bookkeeping. I would say 90% of when I go into rescue a startup for their bookkeeping, it's because a spouse or a child or a mother, somebody very close to them has been doing the bookkeeping but didn't know what they were doing. They were maybe getting the bills paid, but came to file the taxes, the books were a mess. So I would say try to stay away from hiring somebody just because you trust them and you like them and they're real close to you.
So, another area of handing tasks off, and people often wonder about or have questions around that you might get this sometimes. What point does it really make sense for a founder to start handing off daily responsibilities to a right-hand person, like an executive assistant or chief operations, something like that?
So I think you need to start delegating things like right away because when you hire people, you're going to, train them, get them on board, and then you really want to get them up to speed pretty quickly because you as the entrepreneur are going to end up with, you're already working 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. You're wearing all the hats. You're running around trying to do everything at the same time, creating sales. Your job is to manage your company, go out and find the sales and not to handle all the back end office, but you want to make sure they're done correctly. And I think one of the biggest mistakes is we don't delegate as entrepreneurs. We tend to say, I can do it. It's just 10 minutes. I can work on Saturday and get that document out, or I can clean up the CRM on Sunday. And we forget that by the time Monday comes, you start to get too busy to do what needs to be done, with the company. But developing in leadership is really important. So if you have hired someone and you want them to step up and be operations manager, step up and be CFO, hey, just handle all the finances. I need you to pay the bills, go get the loans, do everything. You need to develop in leadership. Are you hiring a leader that is taking on the task rather than just pushing the task back to you? You want to delegate to your employees and you don't want to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week, then you have to delegate soon. And then you have to develop those leadership skills below you so that they can handle those tasks.